and welcome to this week's episode of the Dr. Tech Show on YouTube and Tech Talk on Hope Radio, where myself, Pauline Roche, and Sweyn Hunter and occasional guests guide you through the world of online communications in this show, which is the brainchild of the late John Popham. So, as in traditional fashion, we start with the weather. I've been out for a walk already this morning, and it's in Birmingham. It's been greyish, but not raining yet. So that's not too bad. Sweyn, how are things where you are?
Well, the weather is blustery, quite sunny, quite bright. I'm hearing myself in my ears. I hope you're not. So we'll carry on while I work out what to do about that.
Good. Yeah, I'm teaching my mother how to use Alexa to, check on the weather and stuff like that, because she was complaining that her the app that she used to use on her iPad for the weather has stopped working, which is one of those things that happens, isn't it, when you get an older iPad? Eventually the apps start working. That's why she got a smartphone in the end, because the Skype app wasn't working anymore on the iPad. She couldn't upgrade it, so that's what happens. But she's used to the weather on the iPad. She'd like it there, but she's kind of starting to get used to Alexa as well. Her cleaner helped her, recognize that she could use it for few other things. So she's interested, sort of mildly, in learning a bit more about it.
Well, that's great. It's all about motivation, isn't
it? Yeah.
It's all about why should I do this?
Yeah, I think a lot older people, it's their friends use it, or their family members, or somebody, someone else comes into the home and says, "Oh, do you know you can do this with it?" And it's the getting to the end bit, not the tech itself, as we often say, that makes it interesting. As John always said, find a way of making it fun. What did he used to say? Nattering,
virtual nattering.
Yeah.
And that, rather than for a certain type of person, a certain age group, perhaps, that is what they want to do. John reckoned, and I've seen no evidence to the contrary. Everything else that happens is just to facilitate having a chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing I miss most, I think. I started a course last week at Faircroft College, which is a college of further education in Birmingham, and it was so nice to be in a classroom, socially distanced, but in the classroom.
You went into the classroom?
It wasn't by Zoom? Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
No. On Thursdays, and so it's be 1 day a week in the classroom and 1 day a week working from home, and it was just really good. Really enjoyed it. So
how many weeks is that?
It's going to be 12 weeks.
Wow,
so
that's quite a commitment.
Into February. Yeah.
Good.
I'm enjoying it, and it's nice to be learning, even at my age.
Sure. No, it's always good to do a course.
Yeah. So we are looking at what we are celebrating around this time, and last Friday was Kindness Day, UK, part of World Kindness Day, and that's a celebration of kindness across the UK and encouraging kind acts to be performed on a nationwide scale. And for anyone who's not familiar with this concept of kindness, it's a fundamental part of the human condition, which bridges the divides of race, religion, politics, gender, and zip codes, according to the BUMF. So it's good to hear about that. Did you do anything nice for anybody else on World Kindness Day?
Sweyn? Now that's a challenge. I'm sure I did.
Yes, I'm sure I did as well. We'll have to ask our.
I have to do, but I should have seen this one coming. Should have seen that question coming and been ready for it.
Yeah. We'll have to check and come back on that one. And then Thursday this week, on the 19th, is International Men's Day, which is a celebration worldwide of the positive value men bring to the world, their families and communities, highlighting positive role models and raising awareness of men's well-being. And the 2020 theme is better health for men and boys. And in the UK, this is celebrated by, events are organised by the Men and Boys Coalition, which is a network of organisations, academics, journalists, professionals and leaders committed to highlighting and taking action on the gender-specific issues that affect men and boys. Now, I don't know if you're not familiar with this, Sweyn, but around International Women's Day every year, which is on the 8th of March, you always get a slew of people on Twitter saying, "Oh, when's International Men's Day?" And a comedian, Richard Herring, now has an annual tradition of reminding Twitter of the date of International Men's Day while raising money for charity. And he does this on International Women's Day and then again around this time of year. And in 2019, he used the attention his tweets received to raise money for the charity Kam, which is Campaign Against Living Miserably. So it sounds like
It's a good campaign.
a really beneficial thing to do, and you know, it isn't untypical, is it, when one kind of group is celebrating its particular day, to have other people saying, "Oh, what about us? What about us?" Well, here you are, you know. So
If it's really needed, here it is.
yeah.
Is the
So
answer.
how are you intending to celebrate International Men's Day, Sweyn, being a man yourself?
Being a man myself, I'm planning to. I have no specific International Men's Day celebration plans planned. I always enjoy Richard Herring's tweets on International Women's Day in answer to all the idiots who ask, "But what about International Men's Day?" So it's good to see him again at this time of year as well.
Yeah, I was just checking that he's still around, and he is, and yes, we'll look forward to seeing what he has to say and flagging that up on Twitter as we do. And finally, the last celebration is for World Children's Day, which is on Friday the 20th. And this was first established in 1954 as Universal Children's Day. And it's celebrated on the 20th of November each year to promote international togetherness, awareness among children worldwide, and improving children's welfare. And the date's an important date because it's the date in 1959 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Declaration of the Rights of the Child. And it's also the date in 1989 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And this year, 2020, it's extra special because it marks the 30th anniversary of the Convention on the Rights of the Child. So that's really good to hear. And I'm hoping perhaps some stage we'll get some children on this program to talk about tech and how they're using it. And you know, just we know that it affects all generations, the digital divide and the digital inclusion and exclusion. So it'd be good to hear from some young people about how it's been affecting them and what they're able to do about it.
Yes, that would be a good plan.
So we're going to be joined later on in the show by Kam Bola, who's the wellness coordinator and employer education engagement worker at ACP Family Wellbeing Centre in Birmingham. But before that, we've got some stories about revisiting some of the stories we visited previously, including a tweet chat that happened on the 3rd of November around digital inclusion. Sweyn, I don't know if you're able to bring up
yes, that one. The one I forgot to bring up.
Okay.
No, I will find it.
Okay. Well, I'll just start.
You go ahead.
Yeah. So it's a series of questions. I don't know if listeners are familiar with the concept of a tweet chat, but it's basically somebody on Twitter asks a question, and then gets other people to answer the questions during a certain hour, space of time. And this was the digital CHS one from Aging Well and in the NHS. So the first question that was posed was, what really matters to you about using digital technology? And some of the answers that people gave were digital technology that's designed for people should be accessible, easy to use, intuitive, and make life easier. Improving access to greater quality care without losing other options like face-to-face contact, and interoperability across health providers and across health and care. And the recommendation, I think, was to think about this when introducing any new tech. And they all sound like, good things to think about. Certainly the one on not losing other options like face-to-face contact. I think we've come across that previously on the show. Yeah, thanks, Sweyn. You got it up on the screen now.
At last.
So
there we go.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. So it's good to see kind of concepts brought together like that. What really matters to you about using digital technology? So what would you say, Sweyn, matters to you about using digital technology with your kind of more advanced experience, shall we say?
Not sure about that. In a health setting, it's just the knowledge that if I did need to have an appointment, then it could be done despite the lockdown. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And I have a repeat prescription that I have to always remember to get, and being able to order that online is very good.
Mm.
So I mean, I think in terms of aging and the NHS, I think it's just the reassurance that I know that I will, even if I can't move about very much, I can still keep in contact with people and with information.
Have you had any reason to use the health services, since lockdown? Have you had any kind of online contact like that?
No, apart from ordering my prescription, I haven't had anything. Touch wood so far, hooray.
Yeah, same here, but I have been, ordering when I have had to order prescriptions. I'm able to do it online. Our surgery seemed to have more than one provider for contact, which made it a bit confusing. But I think hopefully they've settled down to one now. I don't know. Maybe people like to have more choice of more than one. It seems a bit counterintuitive to me.
I don't see why you would have more than one.
Yeah,
but it just, I suppose it depends how things have been suggested and implemented.
Yeah, and I suppose the other thing is how people feel about being diagnosed, via screen. I think some of my friends have had that experience, and I think what they found difficult, and they found this difficult before lockdown as well, was kind of the gatekeepers. You don't want to be discussing your symptoms with somebody who you feel isn't medically qualified or isn't appropriate, to be talking about your thing, whatever it is, to somebody who's not a doctor or a nurse.
Yeah.
But I recognize receptionists have a very important job to do as well, and they're trying to screen and make sure the right person goes to the right place. But there's a balance, isn't there?
Yeah. Theoretically, the video, having more access to video for where that's appropriate, should free up some time of doctors and nurses, you would imagine. But it'll just mean all the processes to get to that point will change and evolve around it. In Scotland, there's a national system called Near Me, which the NHS is using across the board, across all board areas. In fact, see what I did there. And I believe it's really, really good. Although there is a spectrum of opinion also within the clinical staff as to exactly when and where it is appropriate. And I think one of the things, it's kind of similar to some of the reservations about using video in some other areas as well. It's quite hard to have that conversation, while I'm here, what about this? And how are you doing generally and all that. It can be very, very overly focused on the specific problem that somebody has come to the doctor with. And I think quite a lot of GPs, especially these days, try to use those opportunities for a conversation about a wider range of health things and anything else that might be on the mind of the individual who's before them. And I think that some doctors are finding that more difficult to adapt to than others, which is only to be expected because they're a full spectrum of the population like everybody else.
Yeah. So the next question in the tweet chat was, what motivates you to use digital by choice? So there's three answers to this. I think they've kind of brought lots of answers together. And the first one was, I'm motivated when achieving what matters to me. Secondly, I'm motivated when digital options mean I do not have to arrange for care as a carer because I can use the time for more meaningful and personal activities. And thirdly, I'm motivated when digital is convenient. Getting to places physically isn't easy for me and takes a lot of organization. I love the fact I can email on my medical teams. Now, that's fine, but my understanding before lockdown was that a lot of people went to their medical appointments, whatever, for company as much as, to alleviate loneliness as much as to receive medical care. So I think there's that aspect to balance to it as well. I mean, I can see the point of not having to have to arrange for care as a carer, because that could be a nightmare.
Well, we have to hope that if people are using digital for these kind of health and care purposes, that perhaps they're managing to use it to keep in contact with people in those ways as well. So maybe, that's big speculation on my part here, maybe the interaction in the waiting room, the interaction in the transport to to the appointment and then the actual conversation with a clinician, maybe that's less important if you're kind of digitally active and in touch with have more contacts that way.
Yeah, so you'd
see whether that was a factor.
Yeah, you'd hope that the maybe one of the things then in the conversation with the clinician is, how else are you getting support, and sort of making suggestions if the person isn't aware of other support that might be available.
You would hope that was going on, and certainly even if it was just kind of handoff, almost a referral to some kind of digital champion available to spend a bit of time. I mean, because it doesn't take a doctor or a nurse to go through how to use Zoom or anything like that. But
no,
if isolation or loneliness is identified as an issue, then you would hope that medical people were able to pass people on to sources of assistance with digital as well.
Yeah. And the third one there particularly relates back to conversations we've had about it being difficult to get to places physically. We've had that conversation, haven't we, earlier on in the programs about how easy it is now for us to take part in events when we don't have to travel as much, certainly from your point of view.
Absolutely. Yeah. I noticed that UK GovCamp is going to be a virtual GovCamp this year, which is great. I've been looking forward to that for some years now. So,
hooray!
Looking forward to,
especially for Sweyn.
Yeah, it's all for me. It's nothing to do with
Sweyn
the
camp.
Pandemic. No, they suddenly realised.
What they were missing out on.
Oh no! Well, let's move on. Question 3.
Question 3 is what stops people from using digital by choice? And now they've got a bullet series of 7 bullets in answer to this. So they range from accessibility needs, fear and lack of confidence, poor design, no access to good equipment, challenge to change habits, personal preference, and a need for personalized care. So I think we can relate to all of those as well.
I'm not quite sure what the personalized care one means, but certainly all of the others, including personal preference, I just don't want to, are fair enough. And it's the big challenge if we are going to have digital available for everyone and used by everyone who can, is to present it in such. I mean, I think if a lot of the other higher up ones were sorted, the personal preference, I don't want to do this, might just melt away a bit, because a big reason I would imagine for not wanting to do the stuff digitally, partly it's going to be accessibility, lack of confidence, poor design, and no access to equipment. So I think some of these are interrelated.
Definitely. A need for personalized care. Well, I suppose if people feel digital just isn't going to cut it because what they have is, I don't know, doesn't present itself well on screen. I don't know.
I think we're probably focusing and thinking in terms of video more than perhaps the survey did. So if you were just told go off and look at a website and that's the answer to your problem, you might feel that was a bit impersonal. Yeah,
I think you're right. So the next question was how are community health services supporting people to use digital by choice? And again, a series of bullet points from options, brackets, digital face-to-face for person-centered care, virtual wards, digital champions, which you mentioned, trial sessions of video consultations, which you mentioned, virtual peer support forums, one app to access digital healthcare services, virtual group consultations, and digital patient education sessions. Okay. So community health service sounds very busy, moving things online, I suppose it would have been previously face-to-face or in groups. And the peer support forums are interesting, I think, and the patient education sessions when giving people a chance to be with other people who have similar issues. And I know that I find this very helpful myself on Facebook when there's groups of people with similar issues who kind of support each other very, very much. I know there was a query on the one of those public sector groups that we're in about setting up a group. Might have been a third sector one. Anyway, somebody was asking about setting up a group to support people with X condition. And I said, let the people who have the condition set the group up and they'll know what they need. And, you'll learn so much more from that. And I think that's my experience. And that's what I find really helpful.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to question 5. What could our hashtag digital CHS community do to support local use of digital technology? And 3 answers to this. Share creative ways to increase confidence and develop digital skills, like fun online training sessions. Collaborate with other sectors, e.g. libraries, to remove barriers to digital inclusion in the community. And share good practice to drive improvement, create agency, and sustain motivation to make the good things stick.
Great one.
Excellent. Yeah. Creative ways to increase confidence and develop digital skills. Yeah, I'm looking into fun things to do online. Excuse me. At the moment, have you done any fun things online, Sweyn, that you'd
No,
recommend?
I'm a boring old manual reader, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I tend to have a go, and if I can't get it to work, I either Google for the answer or read a manual. I'm not very good at coming up with fun things, I'm afraid to say.
Okay. Well,
it seems to be that what I think is fun isn't widely shared, so there we are.
Great. Collaboration sounds good as well. Example with libraries, and we've,
Yes.
libraries regularly feature in this program to overcome barriers to digital inclusion, and sharing good practice is also a good one that we would highly recommend.
Absolutely.
And the last slide on this
one.
question, what is your top tip for supporting local people to use digital by choice? So the answers here, 3 answers. Start with quality conversations to ask what matters to you. Share stories and facilitate conversations and learning. And patiently share your digital skills with others. I think that word patient is the key word there. Yeah. We're all, certainly I am, guilty of being a bit, you should know this, or I'm surprised, even saying something like, I'm surprised you don't know that.
It's tone as much as anything else, isn't it?
Yeah. It really is. Absolutely.
And it is difficult always to remember that, people don't necessarily share your experience so far.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that was useful to see what's being talked about on Twitter.
No, it's a really interesting survey. I must look at that hashtag more, digital CHS.
Yeah. So, our guest is asking for the passcode. You can't join from the link. So, right. Is there a passcode?
There is.
Okay, if you can put that in the messenger, and I'll pass it on to her.
Just excuse us while we have chat, whichever. Internal little thing. Can I change? Oh, what? It's not very good radio.
Oh, there we go. No, it's not. Talk amongst yourselves. Can't say that here, can we? Let me copy that and paste it in. Here it is. This is a live show.
This is my first experience of being involved in anything that goes out live, where I'm kind of.
It's exciting, isn't it?
In the chair, as it were. And all I can say is I've got a hugely increased admiration for anybody doing anything vaguely similar, no matter how dreadful the content, because the actual effort of keeping the show on the road is hilariously difficult. And here comes our guest, who will allow you to introduce Pauline.
Excellent. Joining now is Kam. Kam, hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Welcome to the show. How are you? Very good to see you. This is Kam Bola, who is, let me get the proper introduction, wellness coordinator and employer engagement worker, at ACP, the Family Wellbeing Centre. How are things with you today, Kam?
Yes, good, thank you. I've just done a Facebook Live, just come off Facebook Live, jumped straight on, feeling a very celebrity today.
Excellent. Well, we're delighted to have you.
Thank you.
You have been working with ACP in Birmingham for how long? And what do you do there?
Probably over a year now, for sure. Certainly for over a year.
And doing what kind of things there?
So I initially actually started there. I'm a yoga teacher, so I teach yoga to women in the community. So started with that, and then I moved into taking a role there, working in wellbeing. So I work in our women's wellbeing hub, and we provide a range of services for local women and surrounding areas. So we're working with lots of mums, lots of employed mums, lots of mums that are at home, housewives, and just kind of helping them to access maybe services that they wouldn't potentially access, like, you know, going to the gym, or being able to access yoga by going to the studio. So we kind of use the local area and the space, and we bring the services to them. So things to support their physical health, things to support their emotional and their mental health as well. So a range of things.
What other kind of work does ACP do as an organisation in the area?
So in the area, ACP, they've been going for more than 20 years now. So they're very established in advice and guidance services for people in the local area, with regards to benefit support, with regards to housing, with regards to claiming things like PIP, general inquiries. The staff there, the team's great because everybody's multilingual. The community around there is also, you know, it's quite a large BAME community. So the fact that they speak, we've got a range of languages from Urdu to Somalian to Punjabi to Gujarati. So, and English, of course, and Arabic. So it kind of caters for the community quite a lot. And I guess that's why it's been there for so long, because it's makes a massive impact to the people in the community. They know that if they've got some sort of query or an issue that they need to get sorted, they'll be on to our advice and guidance team, who will be able to either support them or signpost them to potentially another agency.
And you have a Facebook group, which I'll share now.
Yes, our Facebook page is acp.birmingham. So
there it is.
Yeah.
I think you've got the wrong screen up, Sweyn. Sorry.
I've got the wrong screen.
We're having few technical problems.
Yeah, we're not having a good technical day, are we?
It's okay. Yeah.
Let's try that one. How about that?
Yes,
yeah,
that's the one.
That's the one, yeah. So if you look at the lineup across the top there, that's the staff team. Kam, are you in that?
I'm not in that.
Oh, you're not in that one? No,
it's fine.
I was interested in the descriptions here about what's
the mission,
and so on.
Yeah.
That's right.
And ACP has recently had its website revamped, hasn't it? So it's really able to display how well it works in the community.
That's right. Yeah, and there is a link from that page to our website, and we update that on a regular basis.
And there it is.
And you'll see all of the things that we are able to provide to the community, and that's a huge thank you to all of the funders that support the projects. Yeah,
it's certainly a hub for the community, and how is it managed since lockdown? How things had to adapt with the changing circumstances?
Yeah, so I think in March, obviously the first lockdown, March the 23rd, I think like everyone everywhere, I think that hit us all, like the whole situation was quite surreal. But for some reason, I don't know, from moving from doing physical things and seeing people face to face, we were like, okay, we can't let the community down. What can we do? So I did what a lot of people did, is started using technology, and everything just went onto Zoom or onto a live platform of some sort. And it slowly grew. And in fact, it gave us more opportunity to, I guess, spread the word about the good work that we're doing. It allowed us to collaborate with other agencies as well and get that recognition for people to say, well, actually, we could work together. Let's do this. So it kind of took us into a whole new realm, but in a really positive way. So we've done coffee mornings with like local councillors, with the local police, initially in the first lockdown. And we kept all of our physical activities like the yoga, the Bhangra size that we do via Zoom. And then this second one now, it felt easier, I guess, because we were kind of already knowing that we've got things set up. So we just rolled it out. And so we're just providing as much support as we can, and still giving people the opportunity to access things, services to support their mental health, you know, which is, you know, a huge area now, which everybody's suffering from to some extent. So giving them those tools to help.
So what kind of platforms have you found most helpful, most useful in the work?
So a couple of things. We've also got in the community a WhatsApp group, and that's got over 200 residents in that particular group. And so as soon as March kicked in, the first lockdown, what happened was we started posting on a daily basis. So inspirational messages to communities, giving them a positive quote, giving them a physical exercise to do or something to eat, something nutritious. And we've kept that going since. So we've been going strong on that. And that platform proved to be really good because it's very, very local. So the community were able to access that straight away. So that's popular. And then Facebook Live has been really popular. I had 6 months on a media platform, Birmingham Updates. So they contacted us to say, would you like to come on? And we were able to get up to like 20,000 people across Birmingham at one time, you know, accessing some of the things that we're doing.
Did you say 20,000? 20,000?
Yeah.
Wow.
We've had views, we've had that much engagement. So that platform across Birmingham gave us that opportunity to talk more about what we're about.
Have you had any pushback about using Facebook, or has that just been generally accepted as a fine thing to do?
There hasn't really been any pushbacks as such.
I always ask this question when people say that they have used Facebook, because there is this theory that there is a lot of resistance to using Facebook rather than some, well, less proprietary channel.
Yes, of course.
Actually, when you ask people who are using it if they've found any issues, you very rarely find anything actually material. Whatever we might think about Facebook, it's a very
community likes it. It's where they are.
It's where people are interacting. So I think we need to just get our scruples about it under control, really.
Yeah, and I think you're going to go on. You generally will go onto it because you know what you're going to get. You know, initially when we first started, it was a little bit trial and error, so we weren't sure whether it was going to work or not. You know, and then the thing when you're on it yourself and you see all of the comments, that can be quite distracting. So I had to let that part go and just carry on. So that for me was a bit of a tool.
There's a whole range of different ways of doing that, aren't there? Some people like to see the comments and just kind of interrupt themselves. Oh, I see that Joe has said this. Oh, yes, Joe. The answer to that is this. And some people like to have somebody else to feed them to not read the questions themselves, but have somebody else to feed them to them. So
it's all good.
It's
all a learning experience.
That's right.
So you got to take it with a light heart, I guess.
And it depends what kind of event or what kind of session you're doing as well.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
So what have you found? You said you've had 20,000 people at times.
Amazing.
What have you found most popular locally, Kam, of the things that you do?
I think it's a good mix. I probably wouldn't be specific in one, but some of there's our yoga and Bhangra size sessions have been very popular, actually on Zoom. And so that's a nice private sort of group where you're able to, you know, it's almost like you could say one-to-one because you can see the other person, whereas on Facebook you can't see the other person.
I think people are familiar with yoga, Kam, but maybe not Bhangra size. So just want to do a short explanation of what that is to people who might not know.
Absolutely. So on a Friday at 10:30, a wonderful lady called Jasu from teaches a Bhangra class. So it's Bhangra but with exercise. So it's for women to keep fit, and she puts you through your paces, I'll tell you that, because you get a good workout on a Friday morning for 45 minutes. So it's almost like keep yourself fit, enjoy the music, and you know, lose a bit of weight or tone up or whatever it might be. So it's very fun and very engaging.
Bhangra's a kind of dancing, isn't it?
Yes, yeah,
Dancing,
Bhangra's
yeah.
a dance, yeah.
So it's not exercise, it's Bhangra size. Now I get it.
Bhangra size, absolutely.
Hey.
Yeah.
Well, it is exercise, but it's...
So the movements are with your hands and your feet, aren't they?
Hands and your feet, you'll be surprised. They do all sorts, squatting and lunging and, you know, shoulders shimmering and all of that. So
excellent. And it's for men and women in the community, isn't it? It's not confined to one.
For women only at the moment.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, we are. There's a watch this space for men's services because we've had a lot of requests. So that's something actually our wellbeing team, we're actually working on that at the moment.
Okay. So, interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so what challenges have you faced with getting online and connecting with people in the community who might not be familiar with being online themselves?
That has in itself been a bit of a challenge because sometimes people haven't got access to those platforms. So then they've either not joined, obviously, or they've then become quite empowered. So this is the wonderful thing. They've then become quite empowered to actually go and do something themselves. So a run club that we run on a Monday, obviously now because of the lockdown, we're not doing it, but I'm still getting women sending me pictures to say, here's our run today. We miss you, but here's our run today. So it's really, really nice to see that actually the work that we do doesn't mean that if we're not there, they're not doing it. It means we're giving them the tools. And it's wonderful when I get the pictures and I'll be like, this is great. Like, you don't need me now. And they'll be, you know, so that's obviously one of the great impacts that we've had. And same with the cycling. Some of the women now are still cycling on their own. So, you know, it's just given people more of an opportunity, I guess, to independently start to take ownership for their own health. And sometimes you just need that little confidence boost. And I think that's what's happened with a range.
Yeah.
I'm just noticing on your website you have a category, a section called midlife cycling. I think that's probably one that I should look at.
We'll hold you to that one then. I'll let you know when it's on.
You have a number of bicycles, haven't you, at ACP that people can have been able to borrow?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the city council also had a scheme whereby people can get bikes, and so people would have had bikes that way as well. Yeah, they're the bikes in the picture, the orange ones.
Yeah, that's right.
Very familiar around the streets of Birmingham.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very bright, like that.
Yeah. So they use, you know, the local park. There's a couple of sessions. There's actually 3 or 4 sessions in a week. There's a learn to ride, which has, you know, taken women from, you know, being complete novices to now joining the lead rides where they do 2-3 hours out cycling, and you can borrow a bike from us. Or you can bring your own if you've got one. So, you know, it's giving them the opportunity to get out.
I love that picture.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Sorry, Hope Radio. It's a good picture.
Yeah, it's a very good picture.
It's a picture on the canal by the looks of it.
That's
on
right,
the canals.
I love canals.
I've seen other people talk about cycling on the canals, and I'll be a bit nervous about it myself, being a nervous.
I want to keep well to the right hand side on that picture, I think.
Say again, Sweyn.
I want to keep well to the right hand side.
Yes,
of that
yes, definitely. Yeah, I suppose when you're in a group, it's not too bad. Yeah, and the healthy eating as well, Kam, is something you're really keen on. How have people been responding to those suggestions?
I think that in a positive way, to be honest. I mean, in the first lockdown, we did actually hold about 6 sessions on we had a nutritional therapist come in and deliver Zoom workshops on a regular basis to support people with, you know, eating better and getting better nutrients into your body and stuff. And then from that, we just kind of kept these like just simple smoothie recipes or smoothie bowls or things like that to give people some inspiration. And then on days where I haven't posted one, I'll get a message going, where's today's Where's today's inspiration? I need something. So it's been received really positively, and we get lots of messages to, you know, sometimes Shabana's our wellbeing manager. Shabana and I, both of us, generally get messages personally from people in the community to thank us, to say, well, actually, you know, thanks, you've kept us going through lockdown, and that it makes it all worthwhile, and it gives us then the ammunition that actually we're just going to keep going and, you know, be there to support people. That's what our service is all about. You know, we're reaching out to communities, and they're embracing it.
Yeah. And do you think ACP will continue delivering you know, services online even when they can, then even when people can be seen face to face? Is it going to be a good adaptation or extension of existing services?
I believe so, definitely, because obviously we came out of lockdown 1 and we started some of our services again in August and September. So we started Run Club again, cycling again, and then we've had to stop again now, and now we're gone back to Zoom or Facebook Live or Instagram, and we will now use it because we can reach out to a wider platform. So people in the community can come to us for our face-to-face, but we've got now connections with people through the wider platforms to join things like our journaling workshops that we're doing at the moment, or anything else that we put on. So I hope so. It'll be a good balance of both.
Yeah,
I think there's a piece of work. I think there's a piece of work for most organisations to do, is to kind of using the experience of lockdown to kind of reimagine at least some aspects of what they're doing to try and keep the benefits that have happened from this kind of different type of engagement during lockdown. In some ways it's wider, but in some ways it excludes different people. So that there's definitely a need for I think nearly every organisation to think about how to in some way hybridize their operation once the in-person stuff is possible again. And so that's, I think possibly an organisation that's as locally focused as you are, there's different questions there for organisations which have a more general geographic scope. But even so, as you say, I mean, just keeping people in touch when they can't necessarily travel to your actual place is I think something that we really need to try and keep.
Absolutely. And then, you know, people who've had to self-isolate, you know, there's that loneliness, you know, so they're still able to kind of, you know, if they're able to still engage and interact and have some sort of social connection, you know, whether, you know, that it's not face to face, but it's still available. For sure.
Kind of face to window.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Kam, have there been any kind of technical or issues around the tech or financial issues, people have been able to get the equipment that they need?
Not really. I haven't personally. I mean, there's been the odd, you know, the Zoom's crashed and you've had to jump back in. There hasn't really been that many. I haven't personally experienced any limitations to it at all. So for me, I'd say it's generally been fairly effective, for sure.
Yeah. And have there been any? We had a woman on with a group of women a few months ago when John Popham was still with us. He's sadly gone now, and they were talking about kind of not exactly disasters, but times when something unexpected had happened when they were on screen. Anything unexpected happen on screen with you?
Because I'm quite strict in my house. There's a big sign on the door outside, especially to my son, and I'll be like, please do not come in unless there is an attack of some sort. Very good.
If there is life or limb at risk, then come in if you must.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah.
Otherwise, don't bother.
It's like the old red light outside a broadcast studio, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. But yeah. But then
Yeah.
we embrace all that as well, because some of the moms are very much like, oh, you know, when I'm doing my class, there's a, you know, is it okay that my toddler's there? I'm like, it's absolutely fine. You get this. This is life. This is how you can get your little bit of fitness in or whatever it is. We've all been there. We've all, you know, those of us who have got children, we all kind of know that you just do the best with what you can. But, yeah.
And for such a range of things, this type of interaction, particularly for parents or for people who are caring for older people or whatever, it means they can be physically available if necessary. You could leave and deal with any crisis. You're not away, and yet you're still both interacting with people and also getting a bit of exercise if that's what the activity actually is. It's just so powerful, quite apart from the specifics of the lockdown. So powerful for certain sectors of the community.
Absolutely. And, you know, sometimes there's this perception that things have to be in a certain way before you can do it. Like, I can only work out in this environment. It just shows that how accessible things can be if you just sometimes step out of your comfort zone, and sometimes giving people that confidence that it's really easy to download this app to be able to access the service. And then that opens up a whole new education to that person.
Yeah.
You know,
I think Zoom has been like the miracle app over this period. Actually, it just seems to occupy exactly the right space to allow such a wide variety of things to happen.
That's right.
Together with WhatsApp and Facebook, I mean, really, the three apps have made a huge difference to everyone's life that's possibly been able to access it.
I was going to ask, actually, Kam, if you've come across any websites or apps that are new to you that you've kind of been using lately.
The newest one was back in March, was using Zoom. That for me was the newest thing. And I've only just, you know, it's taken me a while, but I know how to do the screen share now.
Yeah.
That can be a bit pernickety sometimes, but
Indeed Zoom... it can. I feel your pain.
And that's it really. We haven't gone too fancy. You know, I know you can do webinars and all sorts on Zoom, but we haven't ventured that far. We're just kind of, I suppose, staying a little bit of a safe comfort zone for now, because it does the job. It meets the needs for what we're trying to do. And
I think if you're trying to appeal to a broad range of people in a community, Facebook, Zoom, WhatsApp, that's where people are. And right. Let's use them as much as we can.
Absolutely.
When you did the sessions with the local councillors, are they able to use Zoom? Because I know some local authorities have stopped their, haven't used Zoom for some security reasons, which Sweyn can explain better than me.
I don't think you want to hear that story again. There are security reasons.
Yeah.
It was back in March when it was the first one. So at that time, there wasn't an issue. I don't know whether it's because it was new then, and, and we just wanted to get out. We wanted the local community to feel comforted by their local councillor, really, to say, what things can we do, what things aren't available, etc. So at that time there wasn't. We only did it the one time, and that was back in March, maybe April. It could have been.
That's great to hear that your councillors are engaged like that in what's going on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're great.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's always a way to plug individuals for that sort of thing who might, maybe they have to use their own device, maybe they have to use the web. There's always a way of connecting them. And I think that some of the security issues with Zoom are real, but there's also quite a lot of just inertia in the public sector. I work in the public sector, in terms of just making sure that we're, as we were saying about your services, just trying to use the things that people want to use to reach them. And I'm hopeful there'll be a bit of progress on that over the next few months.
Yeah.
Would you say, Kam, that digital inclusion in the area has increased, or that you've increased digital inclusion by offering services online and people have taken them up?
I think yes, we have, because we've seen a bit of a rise in the amount of followers we're getting on our platforms. So that's increased for sure. And I'd say we've definitely seen a rise in number of followers for sure. So we've been able to use the platform to more of an advantage to get our message across.
Yeah, well, it's certainly great to see ACP website now more, able, more kind of up to date, I suppose,
Yes.
than it was before. I know that there were reasons for before, but the Facebook obviously, took the weight when the website wasn't available. But it's
Facebook page looks great.
Actually. It is, yeah. It's a real benefit, and it's an example, I think, to other local organisations of the kind of thing that they should have. I know when lockdown first happened, my awareness of what small charities were or weren't able to offer was increased. I mean, I knew already from the Lloyds Bank reports that a lot of SMEs and community-led organisations didn't have websites because they didn't see the point. But obviously, everybody sees the point now, and more. You can see Google advertising on Google. Google My Business on the TV, which never happened before. So people are kind of have come to that awareness, kicking and screaming, I think, some of them. But, I know ACP has always been aware of the need for that and developed it a lot. And yourself as well with your own Instagram, I think you were using Instagram quite a bit for your the sessions that you were offering as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, making them available that way, which I wasn't aware previous to seeing your sessions that you could use Instagram in that way.
Which sessions are you referring to, Pauline?
Was it yoga? Was there a yoga session on Instagram?
There was I don't think there was a session on Instagram for yoga. That's always been on Zoom, but there's a stretch and flow thing going on Facebook at one point.
That might be
we haven't used Instagram Live for that because, again, it was quite broad, and I think Instagram's slightly different to Facebook, and we tend to have, I think Facebook proves more popular with people. I don't know if people like using Instagram because there's all the hashtags and all sorts. But
I think for people unfamiliar to being online,
right.
I think the hashtags can be a bit of a turn off.
But what we do say is to the mums and stuff, and to the dads that we might speak to, is just ask your child to help you. They know everything.
It's
Get on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
When we were children, it was the newfangled video recorders that our parents needed help with. Now it's Instagram and Facebook.
That's right.
Yes. Yes.
I say we, probably you. I should say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we've certainly enjoyed having you on the show, Kam, and learned a lot about how it is for a local organisation that has already had a big reach and now has an even bigger one. If people want to get in touch with you or with ACP, what's the best way to do that?
So one of the best ways is you can find all the details about us on our website, which is acpgroup.org.uk. You can contact us on Facebook, and that's acp.birmingham. And if you want a telephone number, do you want me to give a telephone number out?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, 0121 687 6767. I can't believe I know this off by heart. It's like just real.
After only a year.
Yeah. So you can contact, the offices are still open for our advice services, although everything is obviously, because of COVID, made COVID secure, and you'd have to ring first to actually make an appointment to see an advisor for sure. And yeah, so those are our three main things that you could do to find us, certainly. And if you like any of the things that we do, obviously give us a call, give our page a bit of a like. And if you're a service provider and you want to collaborate and do something together, that would be wonderful too, because we're open to that as well, for sure.
Great. So this program goes out on YouTube on live now, but also on Tuesday evenings on Hope Radio in South Birmingham. So maybe you'll get some feedback from that. That'd be great to hear about it if you do get it.
Okay.
So we've got a few more stories to cover, Kam, and you're welcome to stay with us or you're welcome to leave, whichever suits you now.
Yeah, I am going to have to leave because I've got a call to make shortly. So thank you for having me.
Okay.
It's been nice.
Thank you very much,
Great
Kam.
to see you.
Great to speak
Kam.
to you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was good.
That was great.
Yeah. It's great to see one organisation. It's like a microcosm, I think, probably of many organisations up down the country who took the opportunity, I think I'd say, to adapt to circumstances. You know,
Yes.
they couldn't not support their community. The need is so great.
It's clearly a very strong organization. You just get that feeling directly. It just comes off the Facebook page that it's just kind of, it just feels really good.
Yeah.
Even though I have no prospect probably of ever visiting them personally from here, but I'll certainly keep an eye on their Facebook page.
Good,
see what they're up to.
good. Well, I like them. We work with them. We get on really well with them. We've known them for a number of years, and yeah, there certainly is sort of a family feeling around the team, and a lot of the people who work there started there as volunteers. So that speaks well, I think, of the organisation, that people are able to make that progression and want to stay linked to it.
So we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left. Where would you like to go next?
Let's see. We were on that. We did that tweet chat story. So the next one in the let's just go to the next one in the list, which is about disabled students. Are disabled uni students getting enough help? And this was via the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Assistive Technology. Apparently, according to a recent National Union of Students survey of more than 4,000 students in the UK, 27% said they were unable to access online learning during lockdown. 18% said they lacked the support necessary to deal with the pandemic. Disability Rights UK said its disabled students helpline had received hundreds of calls from people across the UK who said slides, reading lists and handouts were not always made available in advance of teaching sessions. And students with autism spectrum disorder and mental health impairments had also reported concerns with online conferencing, including the high degree of multitasking involved, such as the simultaneous use of video, audio and whiteboard. And there was also varying success depending on microphone quality, accents and bandwidth, particularly for deaf students. So you can imagine all that difficulty. The All-Party Parliamentary Group, sorry Sweyn, what were we going to say?
Go ahead.
The APBGAT said that they did a report in 2018 on accessible virtual learning environments, which examined the public sector bodies, websites, mobile applications, accessibility regulations, and provided guidance to institutions on how to make this more accessible. But obviously that hasn't really worked. I think there's some stories on that
There are
web page, aren't there, of individual students who have had issues.
That's the third story that's showing on the screen now. There are more of those. I'm friends with quite a few people in the kind of academic sector, and well, I think both in Scotland and in England, the rush to get students all back onto the campuses was
precipitous.
You can see why people were keen to do that, but it's left people trying to spread their time very thinly between in-person teaching and also trying to get decent online experiences for students. And like everyone else, they had no warning in March when this suddenly came along. However much people might have said it was a good idea to do this, various institutions will have taken different approaches to that. And I think that the amount of work that there's been in getting anything at all online has been quite significant. Not helped by the sort of constant changing of the emphasis on whether people should be on campus or online or staggering their going home journeys or whatever it is. There's been a bit of confusion over what the actual requirement is for most of it, and I think that has really not helped.
No.
And I can quite understand why students are feeling aggrieved or disappointed or confused, because
it sounds like everybody in education, higher education anyway, is slightly aggrieved, because from my understanding of lecturers is they're being asked to prepare online courses and also teach face to face. So it's a double load workload, because teaching online is not the same as teaching face to face. There's a lot more work involved. A colleague of mine, separately from this, was planning to teach a course online, and she was asking us and a group of our colleagues how to adapt for that, and we said it'll take a lot longer. Yes. It really does.
Not ready by Monday.
No, exactly.
No. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's the last story
kind
today.
Of running out of time.
Yeah. So thanks to everybody listening on Dr. Tech Show on YouTube and on Hope Radio in South Birmingham, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, and bye.